I checked my phone again. 11:47. The wedding was supposed to start at 11:30. She's coming? I whispered, mostly to myself. Tom, my best man, leaned in from beside me. You okay? I'm fine, I said, though my palms were sweating through my gloves. 200 faces stared back at me from the pews. I could hear the whispers starting, that low buzz of people trying to be polite while dying of curiosity. Where's the bride? Someone murmured behind me. I didn't turn around. My mind drifted back without permission. I saw myself on one knee 3 years ago, Vivian's hands shaking as she said yes. I saw her laughing at some stupid joke I made on our second date. I saw us picking out this venue together, her eyes lighting up at the chandeliers. She said she loved this place. I muttered. What? Tom asked. Nothing. My mother, Diane, sat in the front row. She reached over the aisle rope and squeezed my hand. I looked at her face, expecting comfort, but found something else instead. Worry. Maybe even suspicion. Mom, she's just running late, I said. I know, honey, she said. But her eyes said she didn't believe it. 15 minutes passed. 15 minutes of standing in front of everyone I knew, feeling smaller with every second. My phone buzzed. Finally, I grabbed it so fast I nearly dropped it. Vivian, I need a little more time. Something urgent came up with an old friend. I'm sorry, I'll explain later. I read it twice. Then a third time, like the words might rearrange themselves into something that made sense. What is it? Tom asked, his voice sharper now. She needs more time, I said. Something came up. With an old friend. Tom's jaw tightened. An old friend. On your wedding day. Maybe it's an emergency, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, they tasted wrong. Ethan, my mother said quietly. Who is this old friend? I don't know, Mom. I looked out at the crowd. A woman in the third row caught my eye. Sarah Whitfield, sitting straight-backed in her dress uniform, the way she always sat, like she was ready for anything. She wasn't whispering like the others. She was just watching me, steady and calm, like she could see straight through the panic I was trying to hide. I gave her a small nod. She nodded back. 10 more minutes? I told the officiant, Daniel Reeves, who was starting to look nervous himself. Just give her 10 more minutes. Of course, he said, though his eyes flicked toward the restless crowd. I turned back to Tom. Say something. Anything. Just don't let this fall apart in front of everyone. Tom didn't answer right away. He was staring down at his phone, his face going pale. Tom. Ethan. His voice cracked. You need to see this. See what? He turned the screen toward me. It was our old college group chat, the one none of us used anymore except for birthdays and reunions. Someone had posted a photo. My stomach dropped before I even understood what I was looking at. A message from 20 minutes ago. From Vivian. Sorry guys. Can't make it to lunch today. Something came up. Marcus is in town and we're catching up. Long story. Marcus. I felt the word land like a fist. Marcus Reyes? I said out loud, testing the sound of it, hoping saying it would somehow make it less true. Ethan, Tom started. That's her old friend, I said. My voice came out flat, hollow. That's the urgent thing. My mother's hand tightened around mine. Who is Marcus? I didn't answer her. Couldn't. I just stood there at the altar, in my rented tuxedo, in front of 200 people, staring at a phone screen that had just turned my wedding day into something I didn't recognize anymore. Sarah was still watching me from the third row. This time, her expression wasn't just concern. It was something closer to I told you so, except she'd never said a word. There's more, Tom said, scrolling. You need to see all of it. Show me. He handed me the phone. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. The messages went back weeks. Vivian and Marcus, texting almost every day. Marcus. Can't stop thinking about unfinished business between us. Vivian, don't say that. I'm getting married in 3 weeks. Marcus. Doesn't mean we can't talk. For old times. Vivian, you know I still think about it too. Unfinished business. I read aloud. My voice didn't sound like mine. What does that mean, Tom? I think you know what it means. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe she was just being polite. Tom grabbed my arm. Ethan, look at me. Does that sound polite to you? I scrolled further. More messages. Inside jokes I didn't understand. A photo of the two of them from years ago. Vivian's head on Marcus's shoulder. Captioned, "Miss this." My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a rope around it and pulled. She told me she barely talked to him anymore. I said. She lied. Tom, I'm not trying to hurt you, he said, softer now. But you're standing up here waiting for a woman who's out there right now with her ex. On your wedding day. That's not an emergency, man. That's a choice. Behind us, I heard the crowd shifting. Chairs creaking. Whispers turning into actual conversations. How much longer is this going to take? Someone muttered. Maybe they called it off, another voice said. I turned to Daniel Reeves, the officiant, who was checking his watch for the third time in a minute. Give me a second, I told him. My mother appeared at my side, her heels clicking fast against the floor. Ethan, what's going on? People are starting to leave. Vivian's with Marcus, I said. Her ex. My mother's face didn't even flicker with surprise. That scared me more than anything. You knew, I said. I suspected, she said. I never trusted the way she talked about him, like he was unfinished. That's exactly what she called it. Unfinished business. My mother took my face in her hands the way she used to when I was a kid. Ethan, listen to me. You don't owe her your dignity. Not one more minute of it. She's my fiancée. She's a woman who left you standing at an altar to go see another man. Today, of all days. I looked past her, out at the restless crowd, at the flowers wilting slightly in the heat, at 200 people who had shown up to watch me promise my life to someone who wasn't even here. Someone touched my shoulder. I turned and found Sarah standing there, still in her dress uniform, calm in a way that felt strange against all this chaos. Ethan, she said. Sarah. Hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do, she said. I just want you to know I'm here, whatever you decide. I don't even know what I'm deciding. Yes, you do, she said quietly. You're just scared to say it out loud. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time all day, something in my chest loosened instead of tightening. Tom, I said, turning back to him. How long has this been going on? The texting. Looks like weeks. Maybe longer. Weeks, I repeated. She's been planning this wedding and texting him at the same time. Ethan, what are you going to do? I looked at the altar, at the flowers, at Daniel Reeves waiting for an answer I didn't have yet. I'm not standing here anymore, I said. I'm done waiting for a woman who already made her choice. So what now? Tom asked. I didn't answer right away. I just felt something shift inside me. Something that had been bent too long finally snapping back into place. Now, I said, I figure out what I actually want. Ethan, wait, Tom said. What do you mean, figure out what you want? What are you doing? I was already walking toward the third row. Ethan? Sarah's voice was careful, watching me approach like she wasn't sure what she was looking at. Sarah, I need to ask you something. And I need you to know I'm not saying this to be dramatic. Okay. Marry me, right now. The words came out before I fully understood I was going to say them. Around us, the whispering stopped completely. Someone gasped. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Ethan, that's not funny, Sarah said, though her voice shook a little. I'm not joking. I mean it. You're standing at your own wedding. To someone else. To someone who isn't here, I said. Sarah, I've known you my whole life. You've never once lied to me. Not once. Do you understand how rare that is? How much that suddenly means to me right now? She stared at me, and for a second I saw something crack in her composure. Something she'd kept locked down for years. You don't mean this, she whispered. I do. I've never meant anything more. My lawyer friend, David, who'd been sitting a few rows back, suddenly stood up. Actually, this might not be as crazy as it sounds. David, not now, I said. No, listen. The license is already filed under both your names for the ceremony processing today. under the venue's dual intent clause, since Reeves handles both civil and religious. Technically, if the officiant agrees and both parties consent, the marriage can proceed with a substitution before the vows are finalized. I've seen it done. It's rare, but it's legal. Daniel Reeves looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Technically, yes, that's correct, but I've never actually. Daniel, I said, can you do this or not? He swallowed hard. If Ms. Whitfield consents, and there are no objections from either party involved in the original license, then yes, I can. The crowd erupted into noise, some gasping, some laughing in disbelief, someone near the back saying, "Is this actually happening right now?" I turned back to Sarah. "You don't have to say yes, Ethan." Her eyes were wet now. "Do you have any idea how long I've—" She stopped herself. "How long you've what?" "Nothing. Never mind." "Sarah." She took a breath. "How long I've wished you'd look at me the way you're looking at me right now." My chest ached in a way that had nothing to do with Vivian anymore. "So is that a yes?" I asked. She let out a shaky laugh, wiping her eyes. "This is insane. Is that a yes?" "Yes," she said. "God help me, yes." The crowd went wild. Some clapping, some still frozen in shock. My mother was crying, but smiling too, like she'd been waiting for this moment without knowing it. Sarah walked up to the altar beside me, still in her dress uniform, and somehow it felt more right than any wedding dress could have. Daniel Reeves cleared his throat, flipping through his notes with shaking hands. "Do you, Ethan Cole, take Sarah Whitfield to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do," I said, and I meant it more than I'd ever meant anything. "Do you, Sarah Whitfield, take Ethan Cole to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do," Sarah said, her voice steady now, "sure. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." I looked at my watch without meaning to. 10 minutes. Exactly 10 minutes since Vivian's text. I kissed my wife in front of 200 stunned guests. And for the first time all day, I wasn't thinking about Vivian at all. The doors at the back of the venue burst open. "I'm here. I'm so sorry, traffic was insane, but I'm here. Vivian." She walked in like she owned the room. Hair perfect, dress flowing behind her. A smile already forming on her face like she expected applause for finally showing up. Then she saw us. Her smile froze first. Then her whole body went still. What is this?" "Vivian," I said calmly. "Why is she standing where I'm supposed to be standing?" "Ethan, what is going on?" Sarah didn't move from beside me. I reached down and laced my fingers through hers, and I watched Vivian's eyes catch on the ring. "You're married," she said, like the words physically hurt to say. "You're actually married. To her. 10 minutes after your text," I said. "That's insane. You can't just... People don't do that. Ethan, this is completely irrational." "Is it?" I asked. "Or is it exactly what you would have done if the situation was reversed?" "That's not fair. None of today has been fair, Vivian." Marcus appeared behind her in the doorway, looking deeply out of place in his casual jacket among 200 people in wedding attire. "Vivian, maybe we should," he started. "Not now, Marcus," she snapped, not even looking at him. "Oh, he's here too," I said. "Convenient." "It's not what you think," Vivian said, turning back to me, her voice cracking slightly. "We were just talking, catching up. He needed closure about some things and I... Unfinished business," I said. "That's what you called it." "I read the messages, Vivian." Her face went pale. "You went through my phone?" "Tom's phone. Your own words, in a group chat you forgot still had half our college friends in it." I heard a quiet voice from the crowd. "Vivian, is that true?" I turned and saw Grace, Vivian's older sister, standing near the front, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable, but her eyes filled with something that looked a lot like disappointment. Not shock, disappointment. "Grace, please," Vivian said. "Not you too." "I told you," Grace said quietly, "that you couldn't keep chasing both. I told you this would happen." "Nothing happened. We were just talking." You left your fiancé standing at the altar, Grace said, in front of everyone, for a conversation that could have waited. Vivian's composure cracked fully now, her eyes filling with tears, but not the kind that made me feel anything anymore. Ethan, please, she said, stepping toward me. We can fix this. Just annul whatever this insane thing is and we can talk. I don't want to fix it, I said. That's the part you're not understanding. I'm not upset because you were late. I'm relieved I finally saw who you really are before I spent my whole life with you. You don't mean that. I do. This is humiliating, she said, her voice rising, her eyes darting around at the guests still watching every second of this. You humiliated me, in front of everyone, on purpose. You did that yourself, Sarah said quietly, speaking for the first time. Vivian's glare snapped to her. I wasn't talking to you. She's my wife now, I said. So you kind of are. Vivian looked between us, at our joined hands, at the ring on Sarah's finger, at Grace's disappointed face, at Marcus standing awkwardly by the door, and something in her seemed to finally understand there was no fixing this. This isn't over, she said, her voice shaking with fury. You'll regret this, Ethan. Both of you will. She turned and stormed out, Marcus trailing behind her, calling her name, and the doors slammed shut behind them. My phone rang on a Tuesday morning, an unknown number I almost didn't answer. Ethan? This is Patricia. Patricia Lang. I'm Vivian's assistant. Patricia, hi. Is everything okay? Not exactly. I think you should know what's been happening on her end. Okay. I'm listening. She's been telling everyone at the office that you abandoned her, that you had some kind of breakdown at the wedding and married a stranger out of spite. A stranger? I repeated. Sarah's known me since we were kids. I know that's not what happened. I was there, remember? But she's posting about it online too, making herself the victim. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't like lying for her anymore, Patricia said. And because I think you deserve to know what's coming. What do you mean, what's coming? Marcus, she said. He's not here for her. Not really. What is he here for? A deal. With Kevin Ortiz. Some investment thing that sounds too good to be true. I've seen the paperwork. It's risky, Ethan. Really risky. And Vivian's about to sign her company into it because she wants to prove something. To Marcus. To everyone. Prove what? That she can have both. Him and her career. That she didn't lose anything by losing you. I sat with that for a second, feeling strangely calm about all of it. Patricia, why does this matter to me? I don't know, she admitted. Maybe it doesn't. But somebody should know the truth, and I'm tired of being the only one who does. Thank you for telling me. Just be careful. She's not done being angry. After I hung up, I sat there for a long moment before Sarah walked in, home from base, still in uniform. You okay? She asked, dropping her bag by the door. That was Patricia, Vivian's assistant. What did she want? To warn me, I think. Vivian's telling people I abandoned her. And apparently she's about to sign some sketchy deal with Marcus's business partner. Sarah sat down beside me. That sounds like her problem now, not yours. I know. It's strange. A few weeks ago that would have ruined my whole day. Now I just feel. What? Light? I said. Like something heavy finally got put down. Sarah smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. Good. That's how it should feel. Is it wrong that I don't feel guilty about any of this? Do you feel guilty? Sometimes. A little. Not about you. Never about you. Just about how fast everything happened. How easy it was to just stop loving her. Sarah was quiet for a moment. I don't think it was easy, Ethan. I think you just finally let yourself see what was already true. Maybe. For what it's worth, she said. I've never once felt like I was competing with a memory of her. You've been fully here. With me. I want to be, I said. I am. Good, she said. Because I'm not going anywhere. I pulled her closer, and for a moment I let myself stop thinking about Vivian, about Marcus, about Patricia's warning. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew this wasn't finished. Vivian didn't let go of things. Not easily. Not ever. And I had a feeling the cracks Patricia described were only the beginning. Chapter 6. The Investor's Trap. Patricia called me again on a Thursday night, her voice fast and breathless. Ethan, it happened. Everything's falling apart. Slow down. What happened? Kevin Ortiz's deal. The one Marcus brought Vivian into. There's fraud allegations. Federal ones. It's all over the financial news. Fraud? Vivian's company is tied to that. She signed the contract personally. Her name's on every page. The board called an emergency meeting today, and I was there taking notes. Ethan, I've never seen anything like it. Tell me. One of the board members, Richard, just started right in. He said, Vivian, you signed a 7-figure agreement with a man under federal investigation without full board approval. Explain that to us right now. What did she say? She tried to spin it. She said, I was building a strategic partnership. Kevin Ortiz has a strong track record. This was a calculated risk. And Richard cut her off. He said, a calculated risk that's now under SEC review. Do you understand what that means for this company's reputation? That's when I stood up, Patricia said. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You said something? I handed them a folder. Everything. The texts between her and Marcus. Records of her signing without disclosure. Even the emails where she pressured me to backdate one of the documents. Patricia, I know what that means for me too, but I couldn't keep protecting her, Ethan. Not after everything. What did she do when you handed it over? She looked right at me and said, Patricia, what is this? And I said, the truth, Vivian. Something you haven't been telling anyone. Then what? The room went dead silent. Richard read through some of it right there. Then he looked at her and said, Vivian, this board built trust in you for 10 years. He held up the folder. This is a pattern of concealment. Not one mistake. A pattern. She must have tried to fight it. She did. She said, you can't do this. I built this company from nothing. I turned it into what it is today. And Richard said, and today you're the reason it might not survive the year. So what happened? They called a vote. Right there. Immediate removal as CEO, effective today. Patricia, did she say anything after that? She just sat there for a second. Then she looked at me and said, you did this. You ruined me. And I said, no, Vivian, you did this. I just stopped covering for you. I sat there holding the phone, feeling something strange settle in my chest. Not joy exactly. Something quieter than that. How do you feel? I asked her. Relieved, Patricia admitted. Sick, but relieved. Thank you for telling me. I thought you should hear it from someone who was actually there, not just headlines. After we hung up, Sarah looked at me from across the room. Everything okay? Vivian just lost her company, I said. How do you feel about that? I thought about it honestly before answering. I don't feel like celebrating, I said. But I don't feel sorry for her either. I think this was always coming. She just didn't want to see it. And you? Sarah asked. Where are you in all this? I looked at her, at the quiet life we'd started building, at how far away that wedding day already felt. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, I said. My mother invited us for Sunday dinner, the first one since the wedding. Come in, she said, pulling Sarah into a hug the moment we walked through the door. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for having me, Diane. Please, you're family now. Call me Mom if you want. I watched Sarah's face soften at that, something vulnerable passing behind her eyes. That means a lot, Sarah said quietly. We sat down at the same table where Vivian used to sit stiffly, always checking her phone, always somewhere else in her mind. Sarah leaned into the conversation instead, laughing at my mother's stories, asking real questions. You know, my mother said, cutting into her chicken, I never felt like this with Vivian, not once in 3 years. Mom, I'm just saying it, Ethan. With Sarah, I don't have to guess what she's thinking. It's right there on her face. Honest. I've always been like that, Sarah said. Bad at hiding things. Ask anyone in my unit. It's not a bad thing, my mother said. It's rare. After dinner, Sarah and I sat outside on the porch steps, the night quiet around us. Your mom's amazing, Sarah said. She adores you. It's kind of wild how fast that happened. Maybe it's not that fast, Sarah said carefully. Maybe she just never trusted Vivian to begin with. She didn't. She told me that the day of the wedding. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? Something I've never said out loud. Always. I've loved you since we were 19, she said. Since that summer you helped me study for finals and stayed up until 3 in the morning because I was too stubborn to admit I needed help. Sarah, let me finish. I never said anything because you were happy with her, and I wasn't going to be the person who messed that up. So I just waited and told myself it was fine. That watching from a distance was enough. For how long? 10 years, she said. Give or take. I stared at her, feeling something in my chest ache with a mix of guilt and disbelief. 10 years, Sarah. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because loving someone quietly is still loving them, she said. I didn't need you to know. I just needed to be near you, even if it wasn't the way I wanted. I had no idea. I know. That was the point. I reached over and took her hand. I think some part of me always felt safer around you. I just didn't let myself think about why. And now I don't have to wonder why, I said. Now I just get to be happy about it. She smiled, leaning her head on my shoulder the way she had 100 times before. Except now it felt different. Now it felt like something I was allowed to have. Can I ask you something? I said. Anything. Do you ever worry this all happened too fast? That we skipped something we were supposed to build slowly? No, she said simply. I think we already built it. Slowly. Over 10 years. We just didn't call it what it was yet. I sat there with her under the porch light, my mother's laughter still drifting faintly from inside the house, and I realized something I hadn't let myself admit before. I had spent 3 years chasing Vivian's approval, trying to be enough for someone who never made me feel like I was. With Sarah, I didn't have to chase anything at all. She was waiting outside my building when I got home from work, sitting on the steps like she used to when we were dating and she'd forgotten her key. Vivian, can we talk? Please. 5 minutes. Where's Marcus? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Gone. The second the fraud story broke, he stopped answering my calls. Didn't even leave a note. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it, even if it surprised me. Are you? Really? I don't wish this on you, Vivian. I just don't feel responsible for it either. Can we sit? Just for a minute. I glanced at the door, thought about Sarah waiting inside, then sat down on the opposite end of the steps. 5 minutes, I said. I lost everything, Ethan. My job, my reputation, Marcus. I keep thinking, if I could just go back to that day, I'd do it differently. Would you? Yes. God, yes. I was so stupid. I thought I could have both. The excitement of him and the stability of you. I didn't think it would cost me everything. It's interesting, I said, that you're describing it as a cost, not as something you did to someone else. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? She was quiet for a moment. I meant, I know I hurt you. I know that. Ethan, is there any chance we could fix this? Even now? I know it sounds insane, but no, I said, calm and certain. There's no version of this where we fix it. You don't even hate me? After everything? No, I don't hate you, Vivian. I just don't need you. Those aren't the same thing. She looked at me like the words physically stung. How can you say that so easily? Because it's true. I spent 3 years trying to be enough for you. I don't have to try anymore. That's not hatred. That's peace. Her sister Grace's car pulled up at the curb just then, and Grace stepped out, arms crossed, walking straight toward us. Vivian, I told you not to come here. Grace, please, not now. You lost your job because you signed a fraudulent contract to impress a man who used you, Grace said flatly. You lost your fiancé because you left him at the altar for that same man. None of this happened to you, Vivian. You did this. I know that, Vivian snapped, tears finally breaking through. You think I don't know that? I ruined everything myself. I know. It was the first time I'd heard her admit it without an excuse trailing behind it. I'm sorry, Ethan, she said quietly. I really am. I believe you, I said. But being sorry doesn't undo it. Regret doesn't erase consequence, Vivian. I hope you figure out how to live with that. I hope you rebuild something real. But it's not going to be with me. She nodded slowly, wiping her face, and for a moment she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Grace put a hand on her shoulder, gently pulling her toward the car. Come on, let's go home. I watched them drive away, and when I turned back toward my building, Sarah was standing in the doorway, having clearly heard most of it. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said, and meant it. I actually am. 6 months later, we did it properly. No 200 guests, no chandeliers, just a small backyard, string lights, and the people who actually showed up when it mattered. You nervous? Tom asked, straightening my collar for the second time. Not even a little, I said. Funny, right? Last time I could barely breathe. Last time wasn't real. This is real. I looked around at the small crowd gathering in the folding chairs. My mother in the front row, dabbing her eyes before the ceremony had even started. Tom standing beside me again, this time with an actual smile instead of a phone full of bad news. Even Grace was there, sitting quietly near the back, having become an unexpected friend over the past few months. She's coming, Tom said, nodding toward the house. I turned, and there was Sarah, walking down a short aisle of grass in a simple white dress. No uniform this time, just her, steady and sure, exactly like always. Hi, she whispered when she reached me. Hi, I said back, and it felt like the only word I needed. Daniel Reeves, still slightly nervous around us after everything, cleared his throat. We're gathered here today, properly this time. A few people laughed. Even Sarah smiled. Ethan, do you take Sarah, in front of these witnesses, to be your wife, not out of chaos or panic, but because you choose her, fully, every day? I do, I said. I really do. Sarah, do you take Ethan to be your husband, choosing him not because you waited quietly for years, but because now you finally get to stop waiting? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I do. Then by the power vested in me, properly this time, I pronounce you husband and wife. I kissed her, and the small crowd erupted into applause, warm and real, nothing like the shocked gasps from 6 months earlier. As we walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, I caught a glimpse of someone standing near the edge of the property, just outside the fence line. Vivian. She stood there alone, watching from a distance, no one beside her, dressed simply, nothing like the CEO who once commanded every room she walked into. For a second, our eyes almost met. Then Sarah squeezed my hand and laughed at something my mother said, and I turned back toward my wife, toward my family, toward the life I had actually chosen instead of the one I had just been waiting inside. I didn't look back at Vivian again. Later that night, as Sarah and I danced barefoot in the grass under the string lights, I thought about that day at the altar, the humiliation, the 10 minutes that changed everything. What are you thinking about? Sarah asked, resting her head against my chest. Just how strange it is, I said. The worst moment of my life turned into the best thing that ever happened to me. Funny how that works, she said. Yeah, I said, holding her closer. Sometimes losing everything you thought you wanted is exactly how you finally get what you actually needed.